Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavit Vishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We shall together chant chapter 3 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, verses 1 to 5.
Arjuna uvacha Jayasi chet karmanaste Mata buddhirjanardana Tat kim karmani ghore mam Niyojayasi keshava Vyamishrini vavakyena Buddhim mohayasiva me Tadekam vada nishchitya Yena shreyohamapnuyam Shri Bhagavanuvacha Lokesmin dvividha nishta Pura prokta maya nagha Jnana yogena sankhyanam Karma yogena yoginam Na karmanam anarambha Naishkarmyam purushoshnute Na cha sanyasana deva Siddhim samadhigacchati Nahi kaschit kshanamapi Jatu tishtatya karma krit Karyate hyavashah karma Sarva prakriti jair gunaihi.
In this chapter 3, entitled as Karma Yoga, the yoga of action, we have covered up to shloka number 4. Up to shloka number 3, it is from 1 to 3, Sri Krishna is introducing the path of action. Arjuna is asking a question to Sri Krishna. From what I understood, that from whatever you have spoken so far in the second chapter, entitled as Sankhya Yoga, it seems like you are emphasizing on knowledge more than action. Action is inferior to knowledge. Knowledge is superior to action. This is what I understand. If that be the case, then why are you forcing me to do action, that too terrible action of killing my own kith and kin, my guru, great grandfather? In fact, he calls them both as teachers because he's learned from both. He's learned from his great grandfather Bhishma Pitamaha, he's learned from his guru Dronacharya, and he also sees everybody assembled on the battlefield as his kith and kin. They are all relatives, mostly. So he says, and many of them are good people. So you are forcing me to do this action. If knowledge is superior, then why I should do action? That is this question. So obviously there is a lot of misunderstanding in Arjuna's mind. Sri Krishna never said you should avoid action. In fact, is from verse number 4, he is telling that inaction is not a means to perfection. So what he has been saying is, you have to convert action into yoga. You have to do action as yoga, karma yoga, and attain yogyata for knowledge. Become qualified for gaining knowledge. And then, having become contemplative and qualified for knowledge, you gain the knowledge, and through knowledge, you gain the perfection. This is the method. But Arjuna has obviously misunderstood. We discussed all this in detail in previous classes. You can listen to the lectures that already has been recorded and you all have the access to it. So in 4, that we concluded with 4 last week, 4th verse was the last shloka we have done so far. He says, Na karmana manaramba naishkarmyam purushoshnute. Nacha sanyasana deva siddhim samadhigacchati. Not by abstaining from action does man gain actionlessness. Not by abstaining from action does man gain actionlessness. Actionlessness here means perfection. What is that? We explain. Actionlessness means desirelessness. Desirelessness means thoughtlessness. Thoughtlessness means vasanalessness. You all need to understand the chronology of action. So, actionlessness means desirelessness. Desirelessness means thoughtlessness. Thoughtlessness means vasanalessness. The chronology of action is from vasana comes thought. From thought comes desire. From desire comes action. So, to remain actionless physically, but mentally ruminating, indulging in thoughts of the world is not what Sri Krishna is recommending. He says you should mentally also become free of thoughts. That is only possible when the vasanas are removed. So the method to remove vasanas is karma yoga. When you do action without combining it with yoga, doing it merely selfishly for something that you want in return to fulfill a certain desires as an end in itself, then the desires only multiply, the vasanas only multiply. You'll only increase more and more vasanas. And when you have too many vasanas within, there will be a lot of thoughts and desires. And if you sit quiet, how will you attain perfection? So therefore he says, not by abstaining from action does man gain actionlessness. Naishkarmya siddhi means actionlessness here, which means vasanalessness. Remember, God plus vasanas equals human beings. Human beings minus vasanas equals God or perfection. So if we need to attain that perfection, we need to rise above vasanas, not stifle the vasanas. And also, following a lifestyle of renunciation is also not a means for perfection. That he covers in the next line. Nor by mere renunciation does he attain perfection. It is very easy, sometimes to take up lifestyle of renunciation. But even after having renounced physically, have you become free from your possessiveness? Free from samsara at the mental level? How many of us can claim that even after having taken the lifestyle of renunciation, wearing the akarobe, declaring to the world that I am now, from now on, I am a sannyasi. I have nothing to do with the world. How many of us can remain without possessiveness? You may give up everything and may just possess a begging bowl for bhiksha. A sannyasi for bhiksha may have a begging bowl. Now, you may have possessiveness with reference to your begging bowl. Even temporarily when you come from your home to the classes and you sit in the class, and generally everybody sits on a particular seat, So when they come and they see that their seat is already taken by somebody, maybe a newcomer has taken the seat which you regularly sit, temporarily you'll be disturbed. But you can't go up and say, "Arey, this is my seat. You should have come early. You came late. Somebody else has taken it." But that my seat, mera lingers. You understand? So it's in a way relatively temporarily easy to follow a lifestyle of renunciation. But that is not perfection. Perfection is being free of all attachments, being free of all possessiveness. In fact, most of our relationships get strained because of this possessiveness. And a husband or a wife is not your possession. They're a living person. They have their emotions. You understand? They have their rights. They have their freedom. They are not an object for you to possess. So when you love them, you will not be possessive. But when you're attached, you'll be possessive. Then you think they are mine. They are my object for my convenience, for my pleasures, for my, what do you call, services. They are there to serve me. Now, then you become possessive. So that is lust. When you have lust, you even reduce a being to an object by becoming possessive, isn't it? You say, oh, chicken is very tasty, because you're looking at chicken as an object, isn't it? For your taste, for your palate. And then when you love your home, which is just an object made of bricks, you give it a name. You escalate it to the level of a being. So, when you say perfection, you should have love and harmony, isn't it? You should be identified with every being. You should be able to see everyone as your own self. You should see yourself in everyone, and everyone as your own true self, as manifestation of that one divinity. That is perfection, isn't it? In spite of all their imperfections, you should be able to see the Atma in them. And that is only possible if your dirts are removed from within. If there are dirts within, you will not be able to see. It's not possible. So therefore he says, lifestyle is not important. What is important is what you do, what your state of mind is. That's why we constantly say in our classes, it is not where you are that matters. It is what you are that matters. It is where your thoughts are that matters. Isn't it? He may be sitting in a movie theater thinking about God. Or we may be sitting in temple thinking about a movie. Now we have to ask ourselves, what is real spirituality? You should have the thought of divinity 24/7, 365 days. Doesn't matter where you are. Isn't it? So therefore, we need to understand that a lifestyle is not that superior. Lifestyle is taken by few people for a certain convenience. It is helpful for them to pursue their goal. Therefore, they may take. But what is important is pursuing the goal, doing the action. Isn't it? So therefore, Sri Krishna says lifestyle doesn't matter. Don't think that you can renounce and go, because Arjuna has been constantly arguing, I want to give up action because it's not good, it's not correct. Isn't it? See, when a tamasic person is talking that he wants to give up action, scripture will always say you must do action with a direction, with a higher purpose, with a higher goal, which is called karma yoga. Now, when you have become highly evolved, risen above desires, become contemplative, then scriptures will talk about renunciation, etc. So what I want to say is the person who is talking here, asking question to Sri Krishna, is Arjuna, a man of action, not Siddhartha, who later on became Gautam Buddha. When Lord Buddha left the palace, he left forever. Arjuna's words, when you read chapter 1 and 2, you will see, he says, in the second chapter, he says, how I can kill Bhishma, Drona? They are worthy of worship. They are my teachers. And all these people are my relatives. How can I kill them? By killing them and getting the kingdom, it will be stained with blood. So, if a person is truly has gone to that level of renunciation, would he be talking about gaining the kingdom, whether or not it is, stained with blood? Siddhartha just walked. He had no interest in the palace. He is risen above it. You understand? It is not Siddhartha who is asking question. It is Arjuna asking question. So remember, whenever a question is answered, a question has to be answered according to the student also, the level of the student. So we need to understand where we are and then progress in life. So he says, therefore, inaction is not the means. Arjuna, for you, definitely inaction is not the means. For you, action is the means. And you have to do it in the spirit of karma yoga. And lifestyle doesn't matter. You understand? You can choose whatever lifestyle. What matters is where your thoughts are, which direction you are taking. Are you putting in your efforts in that direction? So therefore, he says, not by abstaining from action does man gain actionlessness, nor by mere renunciation does he attain perfection. A lot of people say that I've given up smoking. And then they'll say, I have given up smoking 25 years ago. And they are celebrating the silver jubilee. What they are doing is they've probably given up smoking physically. But mentally, they are still reveling in those small pleasures that you used to get from it. So there is a danger in them of getting back to that habit because it's not completely left them. That possessiveness is still there. Something somewhere triggers, they can get back. It's not that they've risen above, they've physically abstained. When Vedanta talks about abstinence, it is talking about mental abstinence, not physical abstinence. So therefore, he said, inaction is not a means to perfection, nor physical renunciation is a means to perfection. Non-possessiveness is our goal, not getting rid of possessions. One by one, you get rid of your possessions. Then you think you've become perfect. No. We'll be talking to so many people that, last year I gave up this. This year I'm going to have given up this. From now on, I'm going to give up this. You're constantly talking about your action of giving up. Your mind is not established in the higher. This is what he said. These are not the means. You cannot do that. And in the fifth shloka, he's going to say that, strictly speaking, nobody can remain without action. You don't have an option. First of all, he said, inaction is not the means, renunciation is not the means, physical renunciation. Now, in the fifth shloka, he's going to say that in fact, you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. If you choose action, what is it amounting to? He's going to talk about it. Let's chant shloka number 5.
Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krit karyate hyavashah karma sarva prakriti jair gunaihi.
Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karmakrit. None can ever remain inactive even for a moment. Sri Krishna is declaring here that nobody can remain inactive even for a moment. And then he says, Karyate hyavashat karma sarva prakriti jair gunahi. Karyate avashat karma. All are made to act helplessly, indeed by the qualities born of Prakriti. What are the qualities born of Prakriti? What does qualities born of Prakriti means? Prakriti means Maya. From Maya, the gunas have come, the 3 gunas, the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And every human being has these 3 gunas in different permutation combinations. Nobody is free from these gunas. Everybody has these 3 gunas. Either you are predominantly sattvic, either are predominantly rajasic or predominantly tamasic. You will have sattva, rajas and tamas. Maybe more sattva, less rajas, and tamas also much lesser, or different permutation combinations. And these gunas will propel you to action. Isn't it? When you open your computer, what have you got as your home screen? Many years ago, when I used to regularly give management talks to a company, after the talk, the CFO used to request me to come to his room, and he used to have some personal questions, discussions with me. So sometimes I need to access mail, so he gives me his computer. When I open the computer, the page is sharekhan.com. You understand? SHAREKHAN, I think, .com. Sharekhan.com. His vasanas are there. So his homepage would be that. If it is sports, your homepage will be something else. If it is politics, your homepage will be something else. Everybody inside have vasanas, and according to vasanas, they will be moving about in the world. That's all he's saying. It will manifest as these gunas, and they will be functioning in this world. Everyone is helplessly made to act. Everybody is helplessly made to act. Even for a moment, you cannot remain inactive. Vedanta says, if you choose inaction, you are actually choosing death. Death doesn't mean physical death alone. Death means leading an insipid life. A life with no taste in it. A life without maja. The maja, we are thinking, if I don't act, I'll be indulging. I'll be in maja. But what Vedanta says is, maja is in action. But you should know how to do the action. That's all Vedanta is saying. So, here he is saying none can remain even without action for a moment. Isn't it true? Our mind is like monkey. It keeps on jumping from one to another. Now, supposing, for whatever reasons, today we could not have the class, and you have got, schedule fixed in you, that every Sunday, 11 to 12, I'll attend this class. But today there is no class. What do I do? Shall I do this? Shall I do that? Or shall I call that person, find out if he is free, so that I can plan and go out? Something or the other, the mind keeps on asking us to do. Isn't it? It will remain active. That's why he says, you cannot remain without action even for a moment. The vasanas are there. They are very powerful. If you are doing nothing, at least you will be biting your nails. Isn't it? At least that you will be doing. Something or the other, or scratching your head. Because the vasanas are there. So he says, Arjuna, what are you talking, man? You're talking as if you have a choice. Arjuna, let us say he chose not to act and went to forest, because he himself says, my choice is to leave the battlefield and go and beg. Because Duryodhana has already refused to give even 5 villages. So he's not going to say, okay, at least have 1 bedroom. Do whatever you want to do. He's not going to say that. He's going to drive him away. Either he's going to kill him, or he's going to drive him away to the forest. And he has to beg and live. So he says, my choice is what? To win this kingdom. After winning, after fighting and killing all these people and win this kingdom, which will be stained with blood, or I have to go and beg. While begging, what he will be thinking? Well, begging also will be thinking about his cousins, what they'll be doing, how they'll be enjoying life, isn't it? In palace. He will be constantly thinking about it, because he is a Kshatriya. He has those vasanas. So through your nature, you have to attain perfection. See, this we have already mentioned in the class time and again. Spirituality is a single file. You cannot copy. In fact, God doesn't paint the same picture again. You may see people looking similar, but they are different. They are not same. So everyone is unique. You have your nature. You have to do it in the spirit of yoga and evolve. You cannot copy somebody else and then do it. It's not possible. When you join a yoga class, there are people who have been doing yoga in that class for so many years. So they have a different flexibility level. You are just joining now. You can't see them and then destroy yourself through yoga rather than helping yourself. You have to practice your sadhana independently. You come alone, you go alone. Even if you are husband and wife, you may be sitting and attending the class together, but you have your own sadhana, the other person, the spouse, has his or her own sadhana. We can only help each other to do their sadhana, but we cannot copy, and you cannot escape from your sadhana. Isn't it? So therefore he says, you cannot remain inactive, Arjuna. Inaction is death. See, when he says none can remain without action even for a moment, if you go a little deeply, he is actually talking about ajnani. And majority of people in the world are all ajnani. Who is a jnani? Who is ajnani? Now that's the next question, isn't it? Who is a jnani? We already studied that portion in the second chapter from verse 11 to 30. Please recollect that. Atma nityaha, eternal. Atma satyaha, independent. World is mithya, dependent. Body, mind, intellect is mithya, dependent. Form is mithya, dependent. Atma is formless, arupa, independent. Atma is not born while the body is born. Atma doesn't have birth, isn't it? Atma doesn't have death. Something that is born only can die. Atma is not born when the body is born. Therefore, when the body dies, Atma doesn't die. So there is no birth nor death for Atma. And Atma doesn't do anything. Atma is a non-doer. We discussed the example of petrol in this context, if you remember, isn't it? Atma we compared to petrol and said no car can move without petrol. Yet petrol has no desire to move or not to move, isn't it? And the performance of the car depends on the engine, nothing to do with the petrol. You can have Mercedes-Benz S500 and Maruti 800. Both you may fuel from the same petrol station. The performance differ. Same petrol station, same quality petrol. But performance differ because of the engine, nothing to do with petrol. Similarly, the performance of an individual will depend upon the gunas. Isn't it? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, mind. Then the car reaching the destination safely or meeting with an accident depends upon the driver. Similarly, you leading the journey of life peacefully, progressing towards the highest goal or not will depend upon are you using your intellect and subtle intellect. Petrol has got, Atma has got nothing to do with it. Yet no action is possible without action. Just like no car can move without petrol. So, petrol is not the doer. You understand? Who is the doer? Engine is the doer. Isn't it? Driver is the doer. Similarly, in us, who is the doer? The mind intellect, which propels the body to do the action. So, the doer is the mind intellect. Atma is not the doer. And since I am not the doer, I will not have the result also. Phalam also. Called as enjoyership. When I am not the doer, I don't have the pap and punya. See, supposing you drive a car and then you meet with an accident and you have killed somebody in the accident. Let us say, okay, you will be called to the court, and in the court, if it is proven that it is due to your negligent driving or intentionally driving fast or whatever it may be, accordingly you will be punished, or will the car be punished? You will be punished, not the car. Car is only the vehicle. You are the driver, isn't it? Similarly, if you remain a witness, as a passenger in the car, will you be punished? You won't be punished. You're only a passenger. So when you see yourself as Atma, who is a non-doer, you don't identify with the gunas, you don't identify with the mind and intellect, assume this doership. Isn't it? So you can be a witness watching the mind and intellect functioning, remaining a non-doer. And that is how a jnani functions. But ajnani doesn't know all these things. He is identified with body, mind, and intellect, and he considers himself as the doer. Since he is identified with the body, mind, and intellect, which is in the constant movement, you will be constantly moving, you will be constantly acting. You cannot remain quiet. You cannot remain without action. So as long as you have not become a jnani and identifying with Prakriti, you will be doing actions. You cannot escape from actions. You will be doing the actions. Whether you do action physically or not, you will be mentally ruminating. You will be mentally thinking about the world. And that is verse. That he repeats, he says in verse number 6. Verse number 6 is a very interesting shloka. All of us must remember this shloka always. 6 and 7 are very important shlokas. All shlokas are important, but these are even more practical. So here he is going to say, if you physically don't act, you won't achieve perfection, is already said. What will you achieve? He is going to say that now. When you physically don't act, when you have vasanas inside.
कर्मेन्द्रियाणि संयम्य य आस्ते मनसा स्मरन् इन्द्रियार्थान् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचारः स उच्यते.
Karmendriyani samyamya. What does that mean? Karmendriyas. See, our body is housed with five organs of perception and 5 organs of action. 2 set of organs called organs of perception, organs of action. So through the organs of perception, we receive the stimuli from the world. And then we react in the mind and we respond back into the world through the organs of action. So he says, Karmendriyani samyamya. Karmendriya means organs of action. Why is Jnanendriyas are called as organs of perception? Why is it called as Jnanendriyas? When you see, you can gain knowledge. When you hear, you can gain knowledge. When you smell, taste, touch, you can gain knowledge. It gives you knowledge. Therefore, they are called as Jnanendriyas, organs of perception. And Karmendriyas are called organs of action because you do action through those equipments. So now he says, Karmendriyani samyamya, restraining the organs of action. Karmendriyani samyamya, restraining the organs of action. Ya aste manasasmaran indriyartan. Ya aste manasasmaran indriyartan. One who sits restraining the organs of action, Karmendriyani samyamya, one who sits restraining the organs of action, but mentally ruminating over the objects of the world. Ya aste, aste means one who sits, whoever is sitting, controlling the organs of action. Manasa smaran indriyatan. Smaran means remembering, indulging, thinking. Manasa smaran indriyatan. Indriyatan means indriya vishaya. Indriya vishaya means world, objects of the world. So mentally he is thinking of the world, but physically he is sitting down doing nothing. And such a person, Sri Krishna calls him as what? Mithyachara, Vimudatma. Muda means fool. Vimuda means special fool. PhD in madness. Totally deluded. See, totally deluded means when we are in delusion, we do something thinking that it is giving us pleasure. joy, happiness, but while it is actually destroying us. Best example for that is smoking. George Bernard Shaw beautifully defines cigarette. He says cigarette is nothing but little tobacco rolled in a piece of paper, fire at one end and a fool at the other. Fire at one end and a fool at the other. You smoke and you are getting that pleasure, but actually what you're doing is you're destroying yourself. Isn't it? So therefore, this is called delusion. And when somebody is living life while actually they are committing suicide, what would you call that kind of living? Idiotic, stupidity. And that's why he says that person is totally deluded. Vimood Atma. He is of deluded understanding. And he is called a hypocrite, Mithyachara. Chara means walk, conduct. What kind of conduct he has? Saying something, but doing something else. Isn't it? Portraying as if he is a sannyasi, but being a samsari. That is called Mithyachara. Hypocrite. A hypocrite is only destroying his life, destroying himself. He is putting on an act, but he is actually committing suicide. It is not going to help him, he's saying that. You're not going to achieve the purpose of life by doing nothing with your organs of action. At least you have desire. If you do action, there's a chance of you getting the object. Isn't it? You don't do anything, mentally keep thinking about it, what will happen? Your desires will increase. Will it increase or not? When a person is mentally indulging, the desires will be increasing, and physically he is not contacting. He's not going to get it. See, in fact, science says that people who have daydreams, who live in daydreams, thinking about the object mentally as if they are enjoying it, as if they have achieved 500 crores, 1,000 crores, and they're leading such a life, they mentally keep dreaming. And through that, their body secretes certain chemicals. The brain secretes certain chemicals. They go through certain pleasures. With that, they satisfy. Actually, there's a much better life the other fellows lead. They have these desires, they work for it, they achieve it, and they also simultaneously secrete far superior chemicals, and they lead life. Enjoying actually, whereas these fellows are all mentally deluding themselves. So therefore he says, Mithyachara, Karmendriyani Samyamya, Ya Aste Manasasmaran Indriyatam, Vimudatma, Mithyachara Sa Uchate. He who, restraining the organs of action, sits mentally indulging in the sense objects, the world, he of deluded understanding is called a hypocrite. See what Vedanta says. Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta doesn't say you physically sit down doing nothing. Vedanta in fact says you cannot remain without action. You should do action. How you should do, he'll explain in verse number 7. From 7 onwards actually. Now, all he's saying is a person who's controlled his organs of action. Sitting doing nothing, but mentally ruminating over the world, objects. His desires only will increase. He will not be going through, in fact, he will go through frustration. He'll go through frustration, deeply agitated, and leading a foolish life, getting nowhere. It's not going to help you. So therefore he says, Arjuna, what are you doing? This is what you are doing. In short, he is indirectly told Arjuna, you are Vimudatma. You are a Mithyachara. See, when Lord Ram left the palace and took Akar road temporarily when he was in the forest, You understand? When he walked out of the kingdom, he never thought about the throne, he never thought about the fame that comes with it. He completely renounced it, isn't it? Now, if Arjuna goes to the forest, even if he adorns the Akaro, will he be able to live like that? He'll be constantly thinking about it. He'll be deeply, deeply frustrated. Frustration is what he is going to gain by living such a life. There are so many people who are leading such lives, physically doing nothing, mentally ruminating over the thoughts. So then, what should one do? Now, if I have desires and I merely act propelled by desires, if I indulge, will I come out of the desire? You know, I don't know how many years ago, there was this television program called Satyameva Jayate. Once in a while, I used to watch, So I watched one episode where talking about alcoholics. And one gentleman said, I used to be a terrible, terrible alcoholic long time ago. Then one day I decided I have to get out of this habit. And then I resigned my job also. And with whatever savings I had, I bought all brands of alcohol, filled my bar with everything possible that I can possibly buy. I filled it, I resigned my job, kept drinking for months or weeks, I don't know, whatever he said, right? Then I got fed up. And said, no more drinking. And I didn't drink for a long time. But after a year or so, I again took it up. So when you forcefully indulge, when you don't direct your desires, but you indulge in your desires, you may temporarily say, Arey yaar, I've had enough, too much. Temporarily you may get fed up and say, no more. Doesn't mean that you become free. Temporarily, yes. But it's like, that tuberculosis patient. When he goes to the doctor, after proper diagnosis, when he's found out that he has tuberculosis, they give him medicines. And the medicines may be for 6 months or so. The whole, the dosage. Now, the doctor will tell, after a few months, you'll feel very good. You'll be absolutely fine. But you're not really fine. You have to complete the course. If you don't complete the course, you stop it in between, you'll be in greater trouble. You can't afford to stop the medication. You have to continue, even though you feel good. He may even tell his relatives, his spouse, parents, Baba, please make sure that he doesn't stop the medication. Your feeling good is conditional. It is not unconditional. It is conditional. You understand? So therefore, you have to go through the entire course. So by indulging in my desires, by acting, trying to fulfill my desires selfishly, I just work for my selfish desires. What is happening is I'm increasing more and more vasanas. When I increase more and more vasanas, I want the world to cater to all my vasanas. I have a lot of vasanas. So when you indulge in vasanas, desires, the desires only increase. And what happens is, with your lifestyle of trying to fulfill your desires, you cannot fulfill all the desires. Isn't it? There are people who have organized their daughter's wedding on the seashore. 2 days ago, there was little rain here in Delhi. Andi was there. Isn't it? Suddenly, during this season, Andi and rain can come. Supposing you organize your daughter's wedding, you will be praying, oh God, there should be no rain, there should be no rain, there should be no rain. Isn't it? And farmers are praying for rains. You understand? IPL matches are going on. There will be people praying, there should be no rain. Now, whose desires God is nature is going to satisfy? We don't know. It can be farmers, it can be yours. We don't know. So there will be constant tension when a person is leading a life of desire-ridden lifestyle. Constant agitation. Isn't it? There will be a lot of desires left unfulfilled. Unfulfilled desires is agitation. They cause agitation. They give you mental strain and stress. So the fellows who are in the journey of just living their life merely to fulfill the desires without any higher direction, they are also increasing the desires and getting agitated. If I choose to suppress my desire by not acting upon my desires, then also I'm going to increase my desire. I in fact become frustrated. I become a hypocrite. Now what am I supposed to do? Isn't it? This is what we don't understand. If I choose desire-ridden actions, I become agitated. If I choose not to act on my desires and suppress them, I become agitated. Now what am I supposed to do? This is the question we come to. Arjuna would have come to. Isn't it? So Sri Krishna knows that. So he beautifully answers that in the next shloka. But here he's saying, through Arjuna to all of us, he's telling that you're all deluded if you choose not to act, suppressing your desires. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is what? Desire management. In fact, life itself is desire management. I've said this many times. Life is desire management. Life is gunas management. Life is vasana management. And nowhere they are teaching this. They teach many other things, isn't it? Where are they teaching desire management? Where are they teaching gunas management? Where do you have this thorough study of gunas and all that? Only in these subjects you have. And that's why we are supposed to study this. And Arjuna didn't know how to manage his desires. That is why he got into attachment. You remember we studied shloka number 62 and 63 in chapter 2. He says, when your mind muses over an object, you develop attachment. And from attachment comes desire. Then when the desire is interrupted, anger. Anger gives you delusion. Loss of memory comes from that. And intellect is gone. Buddhi nashat pranasya. You fall down from the state of being a human being. You become worse than animal. Animals at least are physically protected. In their biology, they have certain protection. They have a very limited brain capacity. So they're protected. They cannot think of the past. The brain is very limited. They can't obviously be anxious of the future also. So therefore, they cannot learn from the past also. They cannot plan for the future also. Whereas human being's brain is more developed. So we can plan for the future, we can learn from the past. But if our brain is not well developed, then we will be worse than animals. What will happen is, we'll be worrying about the past, we'll be anxious of the future. So therefore, we need to know how to manage our desires, how to manage our emotions, which Arjuna did not know. That's why he collapsed. So therefore, in 4 he said, through inaction you cannot attain perfection, nor through a particular lifestyle of renunciation you cannot attain perfection. In fact, and then in 5 he said, you cannot remain inactive even for a moment because you are identified with the body, mind and intellect. You will be constantly propelled to act by your gunas. And when you are constantly propelled to act by your gunas and you physically abstain, but mentally keep thinking about the world, then you are a hypocrite. You are not going to excel in life. you are going to be a fool. You will remain a fool. At least the fellow who indulges has at least physically contacted. Isn't it? At least he knows how much pleasure can come out of it, whether it is worthy of going through that exercise or not. Isn't it? Now, mango season is coming. If you have desire for mangoes and you follow verse number 6, frustrating yourself from not having the mangoes. You understand? Now, compared to that, there is another fellow who says, okay, let me have mangoes. Even though he's been indulging, at least that fellow knows how much the pleasure can mango give. Can it really give pleasure? How much it can give? What is it? Is it worthy of working for it? All that he can think, isn't it? Yes or no? So you're denying that opportunity also. Nor do you have the capacity to reflect without contact, learning from others. So therefore, Sri Krishna says, you will only become a frustrated individual by controlling your organs of action. Now, if you see here, very interesting. He is not talking about controlling of organs of perception here in this shloka. In the next shloka, he's going to talk about it. See, why he's talking about it like that? Action comes first or perception comes first? Perception comes first. No? World enters through your senses. So, what actually should be controlled is your organs of perception. With no control over organs of perception, if you exercise control over organs of action, it is stupidity. You get it? So therefore, in this shloka, he only talked about controlling organs of action and indulging mentally. In the next shloka, which is again, as I said, very interesting and important shloka, he talks about controlling organs of perception. We should know what to control. First, you allow the fellow to come inside with no security guard stopping him. And then you have to deal with that fellow. Why you have to do that? Isn't it? We all are doing that only. We have already allowed. As a result, the fellow has gone inside and is now sitting inside as Lord of desires. And we are continuously allowing the senses to send anything and everything into us. But physically, we are remaining inactive, appearing to be a Swami. Isn't that madness? Whom are you cheating? You are cheating yourself. Neither are you going to get the world, nor are you going to get perfection, which is beyond world. At least the other fellow satisfies himself with few objects in this world. Who is indulging? This fellow who is not indulging, and controlling himself like this, is only going to get more and more frustrated. And therefore, in the next shloka, he is going to give us a direction as to how we need to continue in our life. Neither indulgence nor suppression, and that is what is called as middle path. It's called middle path. Karma Yoga is the middle path. You understand? Neither indulgence nor suppression. We have to follow middle path. This we'll see next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.